Not your day? Forget it. Join the Casino Royale fun movement.
Never trust a rich spot.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Casino Royale is too much for one James Bond, with a cast of 17 international stars.
James Bond playing at Casino Royale. He won a lot of money and a girl at Casino Royale.
Would you say Casino Royale is good family entertainment?
Don't miss it!
Don't miss Casino Royale.
The look of love is in your eyes, a look.
So welcome to Trimming the Movie Fat, the podcast where we trim films from franchises that don't belong. I'm Stephen Nicholson, and thank you for joining us for our latest show dedicated to Bond, James Bond. This week we're going off-piste to look at an unofficial Bond spoof from 1967, Casino Royale. So joining me for this adventure is my brother and former TTMF co-host, Paul.
Hello.
Casino Royale is too much for one James Bond. Join the Casino Royale fun movement.
Mr. Bond, I'm Lieutenant Mathis of the Special Police.
Peter Sellers is James Bond.
These are my credentials.
They appear to be in order.
Ursula Andress is James Bond. David Niven is James Bond. Woody Allen is James Bond.
My doctor says I can't have bullets enter my body at any time. What if I said I was pregnant?
Joanna Pettit is James Bond.
Rather warm in here, don't you think?
Cool it, Charlie.
Casino Royale is too much for one James Bond. Orson Welles is the heaviest heavy of Smirch. Dahlia Lavi is James Bond.
I'm the new secret weapon.
They've got us on the run with guns and knives. We're fighting for our lives.
Casino Royale is too much for one James Bond.
Next.
Terence Cooper is James Bond. Barbara Boucher is James Bond. Casino Royale is indestructibly wild.
Hello, sailor.
Indescribably funny.
Oh, you like that sort of thing, eh?
Join the Casino Royale fun movement.
Well, no, this is very far, obviously, then, from the Fleming Bond. In fact, the whole thing...
He has a very dim view of the James Bond as portrayed in the preceding James Bond films. He thinks that James Bond 007 is a vulgarian, wretched, pretentious young man who leaves a trail of dead women like blown roses behind him. He has no use for that Bond.
Well, how do you...
disclaims him.
So, Casino Royale was released in 1967 and directed by 6 different directors, including John Huston. And the plot for this, well, apparently there is a plot. You'd be hard-pressed to follow it in the actual movie, but the plot is this wacky send-up of James Bond film stars David Niven as the iconic debonair spy 007, now retired and living a peaceful existence. Bond is called back into duty when the mysterious organisation SMERSH begin assassinating British secret agents. Ridiculous circumstances lead to the involvement of a colourful cast of characters, including the villainous Le Sharif, played by Orson Welles, seasoned gambler Evelyn Tremble, played by Peter Sellers, and Bond's bumbling nephew, Jimmy Bond, played by Woody Allen. And even just based on that, you're just shaking your head going, that sounds absolute crap. And so it is. Anyway, so the gross for this movie was $41.7 million US dollars on a budget of $12 million. So it made nearly 3.5 times its budget. Ratings-wise, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 26% RT score from the critics, a 34% audience score. Over on IMDb, it has a 5 out of 10 audience rating and a 48 out of 100 critic metascores. So yeah, basically audiences and critics alike do not like this movie. And here's a fact for you. So according to interviews with one of the directors, Val Guest, Peter Sellers became such a problem during filming that the decision was made to fire him before he had finished all of his scenes. As a result, the end of the marching band torture scene was noticeably altered, and Sellers' subsequent scenes were written out. And if you're looking for a mistake, a movie mistake, well, I think the whole movie is a mistake, but when Bond, the Terence Cooper version of Bond, throws down the Chinese girl during his anti-female training, he ends the conflict by saying sayonara, which is actually Japanese. And in summary, this is courtesy of Rotten Tomatoes, a goofy, dated parody of spy movie cliches. Casino Royale squanders its all-star cast on an endearing, mostly laugh-free script. And it should be reiterated again, we are talking about the 1967 spoof one, not the 2006 Daniel Craig one, which is brilliant. So Paul, you remember the first time you actually watched this version of Casino Royale, and what do you think of it?
I think I'd maybe seen bits of it. Maybe in the early 2000s, I got the DVD, and it was just...
You paid good money for this? Wow, okay.
It was just rubbish. Like, this didn't make sense. You know, you had, like, lots of a really good cast, a big budget, just rubbish, didn't make sense. It was almost... The saving grace for the film was probably the music. That's probably the only saving grace for the film, because it's a really good cast, but it's like they're all on a different planet. It just doesn't make sense.
I had seen, but it was only recently. It was the first time I actually sat down and watched the movie from beginning to end. And over the years, I'd just seen bits of it on TV. I think most notably when I was, 7 or 8 year old, I was actually staying at Auntie Nancy's. I think when we just moved house and Mum and Dad were getting the house ready. I'm sure it was on TV and I seen some of it there. I think it must have been during the summer holidays or whatever. So I kind of remember it from that. And I have to confess, I sat down and watched this and I was genuinely shocked at how bad it was. I didn't think I would enjoy it all that much, but I wasn't prepared for how bad it is. It's nonsensical. There's not really a plot, and if there is, it's very loosely connected. It's far too long. There's no real plot. Nonsensical. It's actually frustrating to watch because you're watching it and going, why is this scene here? What's going on? Why is this person in it? And you're just kind of shaking your head. So it's also hugely self-indulgent as well. I think a lot of that is, what did I say, 5 or 6 directors? So did anyone else know what was going on? No wonder it wasn't linking up and not making sense. And I know there was a lot of on-set issues because of Peter Sellers as well, and things having to be rewritten. And there was a lot of money spent on this film. You know, it was a big budget for the time as well, a lot of big names in it. And you just think, how could you get this so wrong?
I know. I mean, you think about it, it's only, 5 years after Dr. No, which cost $1 million. And this is $12 million, which isn't a big gap, really, but all that money and wasted.
What do you think? You know, there's obviously multiple characters portraying different incarnations of James Bond in this, and how do you think this affects the film's cohesion and the humour in it?
It tries to be funny, but it's not. It's almost like, it's a bit like probably the Magical Mystery Tour film. It's just all kind of, obviously the 60s and stuff, it was great, and you had all the psychedelic and stuff. It's almost like this was just like too overindulgent, just like what you're saying. Probably a bit like the Magical Mystery Tour, although I like it because it's the Beatles and the music and everything. But if you're looking at it as purely as a film, sort of class this the same, really. Just
Mr. Bond, isn't it?
Yes.
If you'll be good enough to sign here, sir. It's not for me, it's for the Official Secrets Act.
Yes, of course.
Aye! Carry on, Sergeant Major. Yes, sir!
Was there anything in this that you like?
Good to see Ursula Andress again.
I thought you might have mentioned that.
Clear the building immediately. It's liable to blow up.
Blow up?
I want London. Whitehall, 0007.
Too bad you won't get it, Sir James. I went through a lot of trouble to bring you here.
Dear Vesper, the things you do for money.
This time it's for love, Sir James.
Don't
Back
expect...
to the office.
Speaking in our own voice, and like I say, probably the music. That's what's looked
which
on,
was
really.
Burt Bacharach, wasn't it? Yeah, and this, I think The Look of Love was written for this movie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And that's one of the best scenes in it, actually, where you've got Ursula Andress and Peter Sellers and that song's on in the background. And she looks incredible in this movie. She really, really does. One of the highlights of the film there. I think one of the highlights for me as well, and again, it doesn't really have anything to do with the loose plot, which is Woody Allen, when he's, the first scene that he's in, where he's about to be executed by firing squad, and he manages to kind of get away, and he jumps over a wall and jumps down the other side where another firing squad's about to shoot somebody else. I think I laughed at that, and that was I think about the only time I thought that was funny. But that was like a 90-second skit. It had nothing else to do with the story. It was just this little skit, which was quite amusing. And
Listen, you can't shoot me. I have a very low threshold of death. My doctor says I can't have bullets enter my body at any time.
I mean, this film's what, 2 hours 20 or something? If you're only looking at Ursula Andress in a 90-second Woody Allen skit, it doesn't leave much else to enjoy. And what do you think the lasting impact of this movie is, either on the Bond franchise or spy parodies that came after it? Has it had any kind of legacy for you?
For me, it's a bit like the Star Wars holiday special, that sort of legacy, really. I suppose the thing is, it was such a good cast of people, but it was just like, they're on LSD or something, whoever made it. Because it just was, but I still don't think it's that well. No, I would sort of see Never Say Never Again, although that's unofficial as well. I would see that more, I'd class that more in the Bond franchise as opposed to this one.
Yeah.
It's like not really anything to do with Bond compared to Never Say Never Again. So for me, it's like, I don't know, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon or something. It's like that, but not as good. It's almost a bit like that, but not really nothing to do with James Bond.
Definitely not. I mean, the thing with the multiple James Bonds immediately just makes it silly, and not in a funny way. And although I will say, if there is any kind of influence in other, if you like, spy parodies, the one that springs to mind is the Austin Powers series. You can definitely see this has been an influence on that. For a lot of the style and some of the humor and the scenes and all that, so this has definitely had an influence on Austin Powers.
And the music, it's a lot of the same music, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and I know a lot of influences went into the Austin Powers movies, but this is definitely one of the major ones. But even the Austin Powers movies had a story that you could follow, a beginning, middle, and end, to base the humor around, and this does not.
Hello, Mrs. Kensington.
Hello, Alston.
Why don't you ever model for me, Mrs. Kensington?
You know how Mr. Kensington feels about that.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
And if you could change one scene or one aspect of this movie, Paul, what would it be and why?
It's hard because so much of it I'd want. It'd probably be easier to say, what would you keep in? Probably just all the different James Bonds, like when they're in that castle and there's like all these different James Bonds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just stupid.
Yeah. In fact, talking is stupid. The bit where they go into a flying saucer in London and travel over to, is it Monte Carlo? And it's like, what is going on here? It's just stupid. And what would you rate the movie out of 5?
1.
I would agree with you. And would you? Well, it's not really part of the official Bond series, but it is a Bond movie. Would you keep it in the Bond set of movies?
No chance.
Nope, just buy an Ursula Andress poster instead, and buy the soundtrack.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is what's probably, well, whereas the film itself isn't. Whereas the soundtrack's like timeless.
Yeah. So yeah, if you've never seen it before, we're really not selling it to you. Whereas if we're talking about the Daniel Craig 2006 one, different kettle of fish altogether, isn't it?
And was that the reason they made this? Because it was to do with Kevin McClory, and he held the rights to Casino Royale.
No,
Is that right?
it has nothing to do with that. I think the rights to Casino Royale were different to the other Bond books at the time because there'd already been there'd already been a TV movie adaptation of Casino Royale, if memory serves, in the 50s, where it was an American actor playing Bond, and he was called Jimmy Bond rather than James.
The casino is full of apologies, Mr. Bond. Such an act is beyond explanation. You had not begun to play, so it was not your winnings they were after.
Yeah, it wasn't my autograph either.
So I think the rights for this one were not included with the deal that Broccoli and Saltzman did to get the Bond series, if you like, the Bond books, and they weren't able to then get it until when they got into the noughties. That's when I think the rights that they were able to get them, and then obviously they made the more grounded Casino Royale following the book more closely.
Arguably the best Bond film of them all.
Yeah, definitely in the top 3, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic Bond movie, which again makes a mockery of this one because there's such a really good fundamental story behind in the book, and for the spoof that they jettison most of it really, and obviously the 2006 one gets it absolutely right with obviously some embellishments as well. And it's a fantastic movie. So yeah, if you're definitely choosing between the two, go with the 5-star 2006 one and avoid the 1-star spoof 1967 one, that's for sure.
Do you think another reason why it's so forgotten now, in fact it's maybe helped it be more forgotten, is the fact that Casino Royale was made in 2006, and because of the title and everything, that one's even more in the back and hidden away now because of that as well.
It's like the embarrassing old family member you don't want to see at any of the family events anymore. Because it's just embarrassing. Yeah, very much so. And why would they put it into any of the... You can see why they would include Say Never Again in any... Now that they have the rights to that as well, you can see why they would include that in any kind of box set or type thing going forward, or any kind of anniversary type events. You can see why, because it's based on Fleming, obviously a remake of Thunderball, and it's got Sean Connery in it. So yeah, you could see why they would incorporate that, and it's a film that's been done seriously as well. Whereas, why would you include this at all? It's just it's not worthy of anybody's time, in my humble opinion. There we are. So any final thoughts, Paul, about this version of Casino Royale before we depart?
No, am I right in thinking that originally they wanted this to be the first Bond film? Not obviously, not the comedy version, but the actual. They wanted the first Bond film to be Casino Royale, but they couldn't do it.
I think so, yeah. 'Cause I don't know if their intention, I think, was to maybe try and follow the release order of the books, but I think in practical terms that wasn't possible because they didn't have the Casino Royale rights. And also, I think Dr. No was going to be cheaper to make than... What was the second book? I can't remember. Was it From Russia with Love? I can't remember, but I think that was going to be cheaper to film than whatever the next book would have been, I'm sure. I remember reading. And it was all pretty much one location as well in Jamaica, rather than having to go to different locations around the world. It was just one location primarily.
No, I'm glad it happened the way it did.
Meant to be, wasn't it?
Yeah. And a lot of these things, I know we say, what about would you change? A lot of times I wouldn't want to change them. I just think, even if they were bad, that's what part of why you like it, even if it's not good.
I know. Well, I mean, this version of Casino Royale just makes you appreciate how Broccoli and Saltzman got the Bond series right. It makes you appreciate that they got it right, the right tone, the right people, and made it, obviously hugely one of the most beloved movie series of all time. So they got it right, and this just shows you what can happen when you bring in the wrong people and the wrong approach is taken. You get, a hot mess, which there, and even the same with Never Say Never Again, where it's okay, it's all right, it's not a great movie, but again, you didn't have the original people behind it steering it, and it shows. And I suppose that's maybe one of the reasons why people are panicking a little bit now, because obviously Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have kind of stepped away from the day-to-day running of the Bond franchise, and Amazon now has the majority stake in it, and I suppose that's why people are worried now, that you've not got that consistent guiding light in place.
You understand it.
And the two examples of Bond movies where there's been no involvement from Broccoli has been films which were not as strong. So, yeah, it's interesting times, isn't it? I suppose you could argue the same thing with Star Wars. George Lucas wasn't involved with the Disney movies, really.
Yeah.
Well, I loved the first two, Force Awakens and Rogue One. The rest are variable in quality.
But having said that, you never know about Bond as well, because when you think, for me, Daniel Craig had one excellent film, one phenomenal film, one really good film, and for me, the other three were pretty poor, out of the five. So maybe somebody else doing it.
Freshen it up.
Yeah.
It's just getting the right person or persons in to guide it, and that's it, yeah. And it obviously just comes back to fundamentally story. Have you got a good story to tell, and have you got the right people in place to tell that story, and have you got the right actor to play Bond? It's just getting those three things right, and there's a lot to those three things. So I remain hopeful. Amazon won't want to. They spent a lot of money on acquiring this. They won't want to screw it up. They'll want to. You would expect, put out a really good product and prove people wrong and keep the series going. So fingers crossed to get it right. Yeah. Have you put your CV in for the Bond role? Have you?
I'm too old for it, apparently.
It's a pity.
They want a younger, lean one.
I know. Well, it'll be interesting what age range they go in. Normally, they always tend to go for somebody mid
to late
30s, don't they?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting if they go younger or older. There's a lot of talk that they might even, rather than going with a continued series, they might do one-off type things like an older Pierce Brosnan Bond for one movie, which again I wouldn't be adverse to. They wanted to mix it up. Be quite cool seeing Brosnan back as an older Bond.
Yeah, as long as it was reflecting what his age was and stuff. Yeah, why not?
Right. Yeah, and Brosnan's still in good shape. He's a classy guy, He's always classy. He was always a good choice for Bond. So it'd be nice to actually give Brosnan the final Bond movie that he deserves, because Die Another Day was not that movie.
What about getting George Lazenby back?
Well, the thing is, we've had an older Bond come back. Well, Say Never Again. So why not Brosnan?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? One off. That could be the next one. Then they could introduce a new Bond for the next one to go back to the normal kind of series. Time will tell.
Like trimming the movie fat, why not check out our other podcast, Trimming the Musical Fat?
Anyway, we say goodbye to Bond now. So we've now covered every single Bond movie over the last couple of years. So yeah, if you've only tuned into this, there's a lot more Bond for you to check out. We've done them in a bit of a weird order, didn't we?
Did we start with Daniel Craig?
I can't remember. I think we maybe started with Roger Moore's ones. Maybe, maybe Dalton's, and no, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, if you want to listen to them, they're out there. Check them out. So thank you for joining me this evening, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks to you all for listening. And if you want to tell us what you think of the Bond franchise and where it should go, we'd love to hear from you. And our contact details are in the episode description. So yes, come back soon for our next episode of Trimming the Movie Fat. Don't know what that will be yet, so keep an eye out for information when it's available. But until then, keep trimming.
Trimming the Movie Fat is a Stephen and Paul Nicholson production. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us by voicemail via the Spotify link in the episode description. You can email us at trimmingthemusicfat@gmail.com. Keep up to date with the show and access exclusive content by joining our Facebook group, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and following us on TikTok. You can also check out our website at trimmingthemusicalfat.com. Thanks for listening.